Hello everyone, it's Harry the Red Bagnall Engine here, and welcome to the first ever Q&A on the channel. So today, I am going to be answering a bunch of questions that you guys have asked me. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So, the first questions we are going to answer are by Wario VHS and DVD. And he's asked me 5 different questions. So we will start off with his first one called Favourite Disney Classic. I'm going to say that my personal favourite Disney classic, I'm not necessarily going to call it a classic, but I'm going to have to go with the Cars movies. Because even though they were released sort of in the 2000s, they're still what I call a classic. So those are my favourite Disney classic. The second question Wario VHS and DVD asked me was, did you know Bob the Builder was a presenter on CBeebies in 2002? Yes, I am aware that Bob the Builder was a presenter on CBeebies back in 2002. The third question he asked me was, favourite Tweenies episode? Home Again. The fourth question Wario asked me was, which Hit Entertainment logo do you prefer? The Globe one or the Blocks one? Hands down, the Blocks one. And the final question he asked me was, favourite shows from CBeebies? My favourite shows on CBeebies were Postman Pat, Bob the Builder and Brum. Thank you Wario VHS and DVD for your questions. So now it's time to move on to the next batch of questions. So the next person to ask me some questions was BFDI 15 fan. I hope I pronounced your name right. And he asked me 10 different questions. And the first question he asked me was, who is the worst and your favourite character in Thomas and Friends? Aside from Thomas, my other favourite character would have to be Edward, and my least favourite character would have to be Billy. The second question he asked me was, who is the worst and favourite in Paw Patrol? Well, I do like Paw Patrol, so I'm going to have to say my favourite character would have to be Marshall, and my least favourite would probably have to be Rubble. The third question BFDI fan asked me was, do you think you should have worked for Thomas and Friends? Honestly, I'm not really sure. One side of me, I wish I could have worked for Thomas and Friends, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't, because with some of the decisions Mattel made, it would have easily put me off. The fourth question he asked me was, do you watch SpongeBob? Absolutely, I do. The fifth question BFDI fan asked me was, is there anyone you hate? It depends really. If we're talking about someone on YouTube, then I'd have to say that I hate iShowSpeed. The reason for that being is that I find this man really annoying and he gets on my flipping nerves very quickly. But if we're talking about real life, then no, not really. The sixth question he asked me was, how did your other account get terminated? It's a long story, but long story cut short, it was due to someone impersonating me and accusing me of doing sexual stuff. That's how my old account got terminated, and if I'm honest, I'm still quite annoyed about it several months after. The seventh question he asked me was, what is your favourite food? It's a combination between a mixed grill and pizza. The eighth question he asked me was, what is your favourite cartoon? While Thomas and Friends is my favourite TV show as a whole, my favourite cartoon would definitely have to be SpongeBob SquarePants. The ninth question BFDI fan asked me was, can I have a shout out in one of your videos? Of course you can. I will start giving you shout outs in some of my videos. The 10th and final question he asked me was, who is your crush? Honestly, I'm afraid I don't have one. Alright BFDI fan, thank you for all your questions. It's now time to move on to the next batch. The next person's questions we are going to answer is my good friend Jamie Davidson. Now he's asked me 3 different questions, and his first question is, are you going to do a review on Thomas & Friends? Absolutely. If I do make a review on it, I am likely going to make it for the franchise's 79th anniversary on the 12th of May. The second question Jamie asked me was, what has to be your favourite episode and your least favourite episode of Brum? Honestly, I don't think I have a favourite episode or a least favourite episode of Brum. If I'm honest, I think I like all the episodes really. The third and final question he asked me was, what are the few things you like about my channel? The thing that I really like about your channel the most is honestly your review videos, because it's nice to hear your opinions on different shows, and I also feel that they're your most strongest videos, Jamie, and may I recommend, keep up the good work, my friend. So thank you, Jamie Davison, for your questions. It is now time to answer another batch. The next question we are going to answer is by Thomas & Friends Fan 2012, and he asked me, what is your favourite and least favourite episode of Thomas & Friends? My favourite episode of Thomas would have to be Thomas Percy and the Post Train from Season 3, and my least favourite episode would have to be Up and Away from Season 15. Thank you, Thomas & Friends Fan 2012, for your question. Now it's time to answer the next questions. The next question we are going to answer is by Cristiano Questions, who asked me, will you ever do a Go Animate video? While I don't really mind watching Go Animate videos from time to time, even though I think most of them are all hit and miss, I might make a video on it, but I honestly don't know yet. But anyway, thank you, Cristiano Questions, for your question. It's now time to answer another batch. The next question we are going to answer is by Arnav and Anvi Channel, and he asked me, why was your old channel account terminated? Again, I may have already answered this question earlier, but just to remind you, it was due to an impersonator accusing me of sexual stuff. But thank you for your question anyway. But now, let's move on to the next one. The next person's questions we are going to answer are by an anonymous Thomas fan, and he asked me 5 different questions. And the first question he asked me is, what is your favourite and least favourite video you've made so far? My favourite video I've probably made so far would have to be my Rory the Racing Car retrospective, because I felt at that point that was like my strongest video ever. My least favourite video would have to be my Tayo the Little Bus retrospective, because I had to deal with a lot of re-editing in that video due to copyright. The next question an anonymous Thomas fan asked me was, what is your opinion on the Aardman franchise? One of the best stop motion animation studios I have literally ever seen, and their Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep shorts and movies are amazing. The third question he asked me was, are you much into football? If so, is there a club or team you mainly support? While I'm not really into football that much, and I don't really go to any clubs, but if I could choose a team to support, it would have to be Coventry, my own hometown. The fourth question an anonymous Thomas fan asked is, are there any video games that you like? My all-time favourite would definitely have to be Roblox. The fifth and final question he asked me was, who or what first motivated or inspired you to do a YouTube channel? I wouldn't say I was inspired by a particular person. I guess I was just inspired by a lot of different people who were doing YouTube, and that I'd say they were the ones who inspired me to start a YouTube channel. But anyway, anonymous Thomas fan, thank you for your questions, and also thanks for congratulating me on reaching 1,000 subscribers. I greatly appreciate it. But for now, it's time to answer the final questions of this questions and answers. The final questions we are going to be answering by the new train boy 57, and he asked me a couple of questions. The first question he asked me was, what's your opinion on the 9F Evening Star? A very impressive and beautiful looking locomotive. The second and final question he asked me was, do you like Duchess of Hamilton and GWR Lady of Legend? As much as I like the Duchess of Hamilton, I personally do prefer the locomotive without her streamlined shape, because with her streamlined shape, she doesn't really look like a coronation class locomotive in my opinion. But Lady of Legend, what a gorgeous looking locomotive that is to look at. Alright then guys, that brings us to the end of our very first ever Q&A. If I missed out any questions or forgot to mention something that you guys asked me to mention, let me know in the comments below. But if you enjoyed this Q&A and want to see more in the future, please let me know. And if any of you watching are new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the notification bell where you will receive all notifications. But for now, this is Harry, the Red Bagnall Engine, signing off. Peace out everyone, and see you next time.